All right, so let us begin. We'll start with a salute. I'll explain the salute. But hello, everybody. Good to see you. My name is Pierre de Vries. I am here with you for 4 classes. We're going to be doing fundamentals. I'm a teacher with the Young Chengfu Tai Chi Center, and our director, Nancy Lauscher, is on with us as well. Hi, Nancy. So we have a lot to cover. Actually, in a recent seminar, our teacher, Master Yang Jin, spent 11 one-hour lectures on fundamentals. And he didn't do a lot of practice. So we're going to do 4 classes, and we'll only do some of it. And I will talk you through some of what the scope is. But let us just begin with the salute. So when we start practice, we make the martial salute. And the way we do that is you raise your right hand as a fist. And the way you make a fist is you curl your thumb across the front of your knuckles. So this is your fist. So you raise the fist, your left hand is flat. You bring the two together and you press out. Then the teacher will say, hello, everybody, in Chinese, usually when we're in person, and everybody in the class says, hello, teacher, which really doesn't work very well on Zoom because I can't hear you very well. And then when we're done, we put our hands down. And so in a way, the things that we're starting this class with are, to me, the microcosm of everything that Taiji Chuan is about and about what this course is about. So there is, in fact, a poem in Chinese, and if we have time at the end of the class, I'll show you the whole poem in English. But essentially it says, the warrior and the scholar come together, and together they go into battle back to back. And then you finish. And a number of things important there. One is that Taiji Chuan is based on Taiji, which is a philosophy that's all about binaries. It loves pairs of things. And so the warrior and the scholar, it loves the warrior, and that's one of the binaries. And in fact, you see that in what we call what we do. We call it Taiji Chuan. And Taiji is a philosophical term, which means everything. And so this goes all the way back to probably the 3rd century before our era. So that's all the philosophy and the scholarship and all those kinds of things. And Chuan is fist. So we are both about philosophy and we're about martial arts. So we will start our class with a short warm-up. If you have your own warm-up sequence, I strongly recommend that you do that before class starts. But everybody's busy, lives are busy. So let us just do a short warm-up. When I teach the first section starting on, I think it's the 2nd of January next year, I will teach you a longer warm-up sequence. But here, we're just going to use the wellness exercises of our teacher, Master Yang Jin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror you. And so I'll try and remember when I mirror, I'll put this red band. And so this is, if you raise your left hand, you should look, I should look as if I'm in a mirror. So this is the left side. The way I remember it is, the left politically is red everywhere on the planet pretty much except here, which as an immigrant caused me no end of confusion for quite a while. But anyway, so I am going to mirror you. So we start with our feet together. And we're going to begin by stepping our feet shoulder width apart and open to the left. We'll do the exercises together and gradually I'll sort of give you the instructions in more detail. But let's just practice in the traditional way, which is the teacher does something and everybody just watches and follows along as best they can. This exercise is called moving like the waves. So as you breathe in, bring your arms up, parallel to shoulder height. As you breathe out, drop your upper arms, then your elbows, forearms, palms, and bend your knees. End with your palms parallel to the ground in front of you. Breathe in, go up. Breathe out, go down. You can do this as long as you want. It's actually a wonderfully calming exercise. Breathe out as you go down. Breathe in as you go up. Breathe out as you go down, and we'll stop when we get to the bottom. Your legs are bent. Straighten your legs, put your hands by your side, and step your left foot closed. So pick up your left foot, bring it in, stand to attention. Now we'll do the second exercise. The second exercise is rock opens its wings. That's rock, R-O-C, which is a mythical bird. So step open, shoulder width. So as you breathe in, open your arms. Don't open them too wide. As you bend your knees and breathe out, close into a big circle in front of your chest. Breathe in, open. Straighten your legs. Breathe out, close. Bend the knees. Breathe in, open. Breathe out, close. We'll do a few more of these. In and open, straighten the legs. Out and close, bend the knees. In and open, straighten the legs, and this is the last one. Close, bend the knees. So now drop the arms, and as you breathe in, straighten your legs, raise your arms in front of your shoulder, press down, put your hands by the side of your legs, and step your left foot closed. That's the second one. The third one is called gazing at the moon. I'm going to step back a bit because my arms are going to go up. So open, step to the left. As you breathe in, arms go up, look up. Breathe out, press down, bend the knees. Breathe in and open, arms up, looking up. Breathe out, press down. Breathe in and open. Breathe out and down. One more, open and up. Straighten the legs and then bend as you come down. Stop here. Straighten the legs, hands by the side of your thighs, and step closed. So let me just walk you through the first exercise, and those details will help you with the second and the third one. I will send a link with the video of our practice if you want to follow along a practice, or for there are some people I know who couldn't be here today. And also I'll include a link to Master Young Jin's wellness exercises, so then you can watch him do it, which is much better than watching me do it. So the details. When we step open, we're going to lift the heels, pick up the foot, the toe, put down the toe, ball of the foot, and the heel. When we close, lift up the heel, lift up the ball, lift up the toe, toe, ball, heel. And so that sequence you'll see throughout the fundamentals work that we're going to be doing. So heel, ball, toe, toe, ball, heel. Heel, ball, toe, toe, ball, heel. So that's how we open. The next thing is, as we do the raising of the arms. So I'm going to, as I breathe in, rotate my arms slightly forward so that you can see my palms are facing down. My arms are forward. My arms come up until they're horizontal. And then I press down. I start with my upper arms, then the lower arms, then the palms. Press down and bend the knees. Breathe in, leading with the upper arms. Breathe down, leading with the upper arms. One more time. Breathe in and up. Breathe out and down. And finish. So what you can see in just that very simple exercise, and I'm going to ask Susan to just join me in a moment to show you the martial arts side of this. But if you think about the Taiji that I was saying, Taiji theory is all about binaries. It's all about yin and yang. So what yin and yang do we have just in this exercise, which is essentially the very first exercise? We've got breathe in, breathe out. We've got up and down with the arms. We've got bending and straightening with the legs. So yin yang is everywhere in just that exercise, and it's everywhere in what we do. And yin yang is any binary. It can be up and down, in and out, male and female, dark and light, warm and cold, any binary, it works. So that's the Taiji side of it. What's the Chuan side of it? So Susan, will you join me, please? So I want to show you what the martial art application, this movement actually is a martial art application. So Susan is going to come towards me with both arms, and I'm going to lift up and press down. That is a way of defending myself again. So lift up and press down. Now, if Susan, and you can go on from there. So we can add another binary. So let's say I press Susan down, she comes up again. Instead of up and down, I'm going to do forwards and back. So Susan comes in, up and down. I'm back. She comes in, and I press forward. So you've got up and down, forward and back. Thank you, Susan. So that is just the beginning. And what I hope you will find at the end of these four, it breaks my heart that it's only four, these four sessions together, is I hope you'll find new things in these exercises that you didn't see when we did them for the first time. And for people who've been practicing a long time, and there's quite a few of us like that in this group, that you also can find something new. So that is the warm-up exercises. And so I've talked a little bit about Tai Chi. Let me just talk briefly about what we're going to be doing in this little micro course. And rest assured, there's going to be less talking as we go through it. Next week, there'll be less talking, but I have to set things up. We are going to think about, let's first think about the progression of study. When Master Young Jin talks about how we progress, the first thing is understand the reason why we do things. The second is understand your body. And the third is understand how to apply things. And so understand the reason I talked about this movement is yin yang, up and down. Understand your body, we talked about the details about how you moved your arms. And then apply, I did it with Susan. So by the way, there's another binary, practicing on your own and practicing with another person. So we're just going to focus on practicing on our own. Another way of dividing up the practice is still and moving practice. We're going to be doing both of those. So we're doing still and moving practice. But we're going to focus on understanding the body. And when Master Young Jin talks about understanding the body, he uses 5 elements. So the 5 parts of understanding the body are footwork, how you move your body. So it's the lower body, the middle body, what techniques you use, then the upper body, arm movements, and last, gaze. So footwork, body movements, practice methods, arm movements, and gaze. And of those 5, we're going to focus on 2 and maybe 3, depending on how the time goes. We're going to focus on footwork, and we're going to focus on body movement. And if there's time, we'll do some of the practice methods, particularly waist movements. So that's what we're going to focus on in this 4-class series. So let us begin with still practice. So what I'd like to do is to invite you to join me. So begin by, and you don't have to mirror me that sort of mood right now. Stand with your feet shoulder width apart. And I want you to just stand there for a moment and feel your weight on your feet. As you stand there, tilt your weight forward, and you'll find that your weight goes onto the ball and your heel comes up. If you move your weight back, you'll feel that the ball comes off the ground. And so when we are standing, actually throughout the form, when we're standing, we want equal weight on the ball and the heel, maybe a little bit more on the ball. So that's the first thing when we're standing. You will often hear me say, put the weight on the bubbling well. So the bubbling well is an acupuncture point that is in the middle of your foot, just behind the ball, just behind the arch, at the front end of the arch. So if I put my foot here on this, let's try this blue line, the bubbling well runs, it's about there at the bottom of my foot. So essentially, if my foot is like this, with this is the ball, this is the heel, and here's the leg, you want to put your weight between the front and the back. So it's like an arch that absorbs your weight. So we're putting our weight on the bubbling well. Second, we want to have the weight equal not just front and back, but side to side as well. And so the way we do that, and the catchphrase that you'll hear a lot, is crotch rounded. So the problem we usually have, and I'll exaggerate, I'll stand a little bit wider, is we tend to knock our knees together. And you'll see, actually I'll use a sandal, that when I knock my knees together, my weight is not over my whole foot, it's just over the one side of the foot. If I'm bow-legged, like this, the weight is on the outside of my foot. And so we want to have the weight evenly spread left and right. So let's do that together. So just stand naturally with your legs straight but not locked, and feel the weight on your feet. I find it's easiest if you're wearing socks or bare feet. It's harder with soft shoes, but see if you can find it if you are wearing soft shoes. And so just move your weight forwards and back and feel more on the back, more on the front, until you're centered, weight on the bubbling well. Now, if you're knock-kneed, you'll feel, if you knock your knees together, don't do it too much, you'll find that the weight is on the inside of your feet. If you're bow-legged, the weight will be on the outside of your feet. You want them even. And the way we do that is to open our crotch so that our legs actually make an arch. It's straight up here and then comes in straight down on the and an arch shape on the other side. And what that does, and you'll see this better in some of the other stances we'll do, is that your knee and your toe are pointing in the same direction. You don't want your knee and your toes pointing in different directions. That long term will hurt your knees. Okay, so let's go back to that. So we've now established weight over the bubbling well, crotch rounded. Raise your arms in front of you. This is like the second exercise we did. So what I'd like you to do is the arms are essentially just the palms are just below shoulder height. They're out, so not like this, but like this. And when you look at them from the front, the gap between your fingertips is about one fist width. So we're standing, our arms are in a nice big circle. Now, we're going to spend a little bit of time in this posture. At any time, if you feel uncomfortable, drop your arms, relax, and come back, or just take a break. Okay. So now what I'd like you to do is think about the top of your head. Press up the top of your head. And at the same time, feel your shoulders sinking. Your head is pushing up and the rest of your body is suspended from the neck down all the way to your feet. So feel the elongation from the feet through the crown of your head. That's up and down. You've seen the pattern. This is Taiji theory, yin yang. What's the other one? It's horizontal. So with your arms in a circle, imagine pulling your elbows out so that you're making a big circle. When you pull out with your elbows, you should feel that you're, let me get closer. Yeah, that might work. So this is not pulling my elbows forward. When I pull my elbows forward, you'll see that there's tension across my back. This is not pulling forward. This is pulling forward. So pull forward your elbows. What happens when we pull forward our elbows very often is that our shoulders, I'm going to move forward. When we pull here, our shoulders go up. So we want to pull with the elbows and at the same time sink your shoulder blades down and feel there's a weight hanging from each of your elbows. Drop the elbows. Okay, rest if you need to. Then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about the lower back. So when I'm in this posture, I want to have this connection between my crown and my feet. I don't want to be in this position with my back really rounded like this and my pelvis tilted forwards. But I don't want to be like a duck either with my butt sticking out. I want it to be neutral. So I want my hips, my tailbone to be going straight down. So let's try that. So let's try all those things together. Start with your feet shoulder width apart, your arms in a circle. Now bend your knees just as much as is comfortable. And let's think about the lower back. It's sinking. Your waist, it's called the waist, is the English translation, is sinking down vertically. Start from the bottom. Feet. Is your weight equal forward, back? If you need to adjust where your weight is, tilt at the hip crease. Don't rotate your spine, just tilt here so that you get a good even weight forward back. Make sure that your crotch is rounded and your weight is equal left and right. Drop the waist down, known as relax the waist. Feel your arms opening, that circle opening, pull it open. Not too much, but not limp either. Shoulders down, elbows down, and push the head up. And relax. So we'll be doing this a lot. We do this in just about every movement. We start with still practice because it's easier to keep track of all these things when you're not moving around and trying to do stuff than when you're standing still. And so that's why we do still practice. I mean, for me, actually, still practice was a bit like, I think probably every culture has these foods that kids hate because they don't taste nice, like, you know, kimchi or stinky cheese or olives or something. And it's like, as you spend time with it, as you do it, you discover all the wonderful things. And so the more time that you can spend, start with 30 seconds, then go to a minute, then go to 2 minutes. The more time you can spend in still practice, the more your body will show you things, and you will actually find yourself improving your posture. So let's do that again. So we're going to start feet apart, shoulder width, head up, weight over the bubbling well, arms up, in a big circle. Bend your knees, sinking down just enough. We'll start at the top this time. Push up the crown of your head so that the plane of your face is vertical. Pull open with the elbows. Make a big circle with the arms. Drop the shoulder blades, drop the elbows so that they're nice and down. Drop the hips so that you can, quote, relax the waist. Check the weight on your feet. Is it even on the ball and the heel? So are you over the bubbling well? And is it even left-right? Do you have a rounded crotch. And relax. So a couple more things here, and then we'll move on. When I said you want to have your arms in this big circle, that's sometimes called hugging a tree. Sometimes people call it holding a barrel. Sometimes I find for myself, it's useful to think about you are a balloon and your arms are part of the surface of the balloon, and the pressure of the air inside the balloon is pressing you open in all directions. Now, the question is, how much? Because you can be limp, and that's no good. And you can be really stiff, and that's no good either. And the way you check whether you have the right amount of extension, the right amount of relaxation. So the word song that we translate as relax in Chinese, I believe, it actually means extended, open, is to check your breathing. So when we do standing practice, there are 3 reasons to do standing practice. One is to get our posture right. The second is to practice our breathing. So we're going to breathe with our belly, and I'll talk more about that next week. But one way to find that you're too stiff is if your breathing if you can't breathe deeply into your stomach, that's too much. Come back a little bit. And the third benefit of standing practice is it helps us calm the mind. Now, you can do standing practice in any of the postures that we're going to be studying. Today, we are focusing on the parallel stance. Next week, we'll try it in other stances as well. So, are there any questions before I go on? Okay, so I am just going to briefly pause the recording. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to shift. We've done our still practice. We're going to start moving practice, but we're going to start with footwork. And so far, we've done the first stance. We've already done. That's the parallel stance. The one thing that will come up a lot is you will hear people say feet shoulder width apart. And you heard me say that. And you can actually see the blue lines. So the blue lines are my shoulder width. Shoulder width is different for every person. And so let me just briefly explain what I mean by feet shoulder width apart. The rule is that your feet are shoulder width apart when the outside of your feet are the same width as the outside of your shoulders. That is shoulder width apart. And so in a way, shoulder width is non-negotiable. It depends on what your body is. That's your shoulder width. I actually got Susan to measure me, and I measured my shoulder and I measured my feet, and then I measured where the center of my feet were. And so actually I'm 18 inches from here to here. I'm 14 inches on the center of my feet. So these lines are actually 14 inches apart. That's my shoulder width. If you don't want to measure, get a tape measure out, there's a quick way of checking. Take your palms, put them pinky to pinky, put them against your chest. You'll see when you look in the mirror that your thumb is roughly on the center of your shoulder, right? And so if I flip them around, so this is the same width, and I put them on my feet, you'll see that my pinkies are on the center of my feet. So actually when the center of your feet are this width apart, you're probably close to shoulder width. And so the next question is, where is the center of my foot? The center of your foot is the line between, the center of your leg and your second toe. That is the center of your foot, the center line. And you can probably see, depending on the quality of the video, I've got little blue dots on my feet. That's actually for my benefit, not for your benefit, because I really don't have a very clear idea of where my feet are and where they're pointing. And it helps me to check, are my feet actually pointing in the direction that they're supposed to be pointing? Okay, so this was the first stance, shoulder width apart. The next one we're going to learn is the bow stance. Next week, we're going to learn the empty stance, and each of them come in various variations. So the bow stance looks like this. The empty stance looks something like this. And then there's also the one-legged stance, and I don't think we'll have time to talk about that in this mini course. But those are the 4 basic stances. So we'll be doing most of them. As Karen has found, you get into the second section, you start doing kicks, you have to stand on one leg. So it's quite a while before you get to the one-legged stance. Okay, so let us begin with the bow stance. So this is how you make a bow stance. Open one of your feet to the corner. So it's pointing at 45 degrees. So when I say the corner, it's the local corner around me. So it's 45 degrees from the straight direction. And then step out the other foot to the straight direction. This is a bow stance. This is a bow stance. I'm doing it to the right. My right leg is in front. You can do it to the other side. So take your other foot, open it to the corner, sit your weight so that the back leg is bent, step out, and go forward. So there are a number of things to bear in mind. The first is what I've just said. With this stance, and with very, very few exceptions in Young Family Taiji Chuan, the feet are always either pointing in a straight direction or in a corner direction. And so this one, they're both pointing to the straight. In this case, back one's to the corner, front one's to straight. And of course, I can do it this way around. And in fact, if I'm pointing off, let's say this way, my front foot is now in the corner direction and my back foot's in the straight direction. And I can change them, but the angle between the front foot and the back foot is always 45 degrees. That's the first thing. Go into perform a bow stance. So back foot to the corner, front foot wider. We'll talk about how wide in a second. And just come into a comfortable stance here. What I'd like you to do is to have your back leg more or less straight, but not lock, and your front leg bent at the knee with the shin just a little bit forward of straight or forward of vertical. Remember, we were talking about bubbling well and crotch rounded. We're going to do the same thing here. So check that your weight is on the bubbling well. The way we check whether the weight is on the bubbling well is, can you lift either your ball or your heel? If you can't lift either of them, odds are your weight is good. So with the front foot, see if you can lift your heel. If you can lift your heel, move your weight back a bit. See if you can lift the ball of your foot. If you can, move your weight forward slightly. I find the back leg is usually a little bit harder. So it's really hard to lift the heel on the back foot, but it's often easy to lift the heel on the back foot. And if you find that you can lift the heel on the back foot, you're not over the bubbling well, move your hips back slightly. So put weight into the heel. So those are the 3 requirements. 1 foot to 45 degrees, 1 foot to straight, weight over the bubbling well, front and back. The last one is crotch rounded. So make sure that your feet are flat on the ground. One problem that you get is your front knee can tilt out, or sometimes the front knee tilts in. That's more likely. Open the crotch to make sure that your knee and toe is in a line. Same for the back leg. You don't want your back knee to come in. You want to have your crotch rounded. The next thing we should talk about is, what's the size? Where do you put your feet in the bow stance? So what we're going to do is we're going to step shoulder width apart. Start with 1 foot to corner, step out, put your front foot, put your heel down, put a bit of weight, and see if you can bring your foot back. Put it down, bring it back. Put it down, bring it back. So you want to step the front foot far enough that you can bring it back. If you step too far forward, it might look impressive, but you're going to be stuck. Your opponent will, you're locked in. Your opponent can do whatever they want because we call this double weighted. You can't lift the front foot. So that's the first thing. That's the length. The width is shoulder width. So the width is non-negotiable. The length will depend on how high your stance is. So, for example, if your stance is really low, I'll start here. I'll start with my heel on that intersection. If your stance is really low, you'll see that my leg can go quite far. But if my stance is quite high, if I can't bend my back leg, if I choose not to today, my stance is much higher, and you'll see that my bow stance is shorter. That's entirely up to you. That's a function of what your stance is today. The width is always shoulder width, but the length depends on your stance. Okay? Then the next thing is, what's the weight distribution? So I'm in my bow stance. So join me in the bow stance. Back foot to the corner, front foot to straight. Check that you've got good weight on the bubbling well. Check that your back leg is straight but not locked. Front leg is almost vertical. A way to check that is, can you see all your toes? The usual problem is that we bend forward too much. That's bad for your knees, but actually it's bad from a martial arts point of view because you want to be able to move your weight between your feet. And if your knee is too bent, you can't actually make the muscles move your knee back. One posture is this. So you'll see here, my torso is in line with my back leg and my chest is square. And so here, I've got 60% on the front leg, 40% on the back leg. I can sit my weight back. So you can see I go from here to here. Now I've got 60% on the back leg and 40% on the front leg. And in fact, if I bring my arms up, my natural position actually is more to corner. So this is 60% on the front. This is 60% on the back. 60% on the front. 60% on the back. There's a third one. We'll start with 60% on the front, but instead of having our torso leaning forward, we have our torso vertical. And to do that, we actually open our hips slightly, and we have our head up, and our chest is to the corner, maybe a little bit more than corner. So let's do this together. Let's start on one side and then do it on the other side. So start, if you are going to mirror me, start with your left toe to the corner. Step into a bow stance, so shoulder width apart, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. Here, arms in front, nice rounded. Check what we were talking at the beginning. Head up, shoulders down, elbows down, pull open, across the back, sink your hips down, and feel your weight on your feet. 60% on the front, 40% on the back. Shift your weight back. Now you have 60% on the back, 40% on the front. Forward, back, forward, back. I'm just hold that position forward. I'm just going to change the camera angle. So we're here. You can see my torso is tilted forward. Now I'm just going to turn my chest to the corner and have my torso vertical. And to do that, I open my hips slightly. So let's do that transition. So forward, torso tilting, vertical, open the hips, chest to the corner. In this case, the weight distribution hasn't changed. It's still 60-40 when you're forward, and it's still nominally 60-40 when you're here. And relax, shake it out. Let's do it on the other side. Okay, so right toe to corner, step, bow stance, forward. So you're forwards, shift weight back, now 60% on the back. Shift weight forward, shift weight back. Shift weight forward, shift weight back. Shift weight forward and hold it there. And so now we'll just come up, keep 60% on the front, open your hips to the corner, and have your torso vertical, chest pointing to corner or perhaps a little bit more than corner. To the front, hips come in a little bit, and torso vertical, hips open. Forward and vertical. And relax. Every week, what we'll do is we'll start again at the beginning. We'll do the stuff that we did the last week a little bit faster and add new things as we go along. So one of the things that we are going to get to is moving. So far I've talked about what the bow stance is and what the characteristics of the bow stance are. So now how do we move? How do we go from one bow stance to another bow stance? An issue here will be I have no idea what the space is that you're in. Some of us are in really small spaces. And so if you need to move around, please do, and I apologize. I'm lucky because Susan allowed me to turn the garage into a practice space. Let's see how we go. So perform a bow stance. So back foot to the corner, step out, shoulder width, heel ball toe, bend knee. So we're going to turn through 90 degrees. So I'm pointing to the front direction, I'm going to point to the side. So the way I do that, shift my weight back slightly, turn my toe from the straight to the corner. Both my toes are now pointing to the corner. Shift my weight over to the back, the new back foot, bring in my leg, step out, shoulder width, go forward. Do that again. Shift your weight back, turn the toe to the corner, the back toe, the front toe, which will become the back toe. Shift your weight over, step out, shoulder width apart, and go forward. And again, shift weight back slightly, turn the toe to the corner, both toes are now to the corner, shift your weight over, bring the new front foot in, step out, shoulder width, heel ball toe. So that's how we can turn through 90 degrees. By moving the front, we go through 90 degrees by turning our front foot through 45 degrees in. If we turn it 45 degrees out, we can actually move in a straight line. So let's do that together. So perform a bow stance. Open the front toe to 45 degrees. Check that your crotch is rounded. It's really easy to have your knees tilt in because we are not used to having our hips open like this. Now you're going to move your weight forward. As you move your weight forward, move it in the direction of the front foot. So move your weight over, move your weight in the direction of the corner, bring in the back foot, step out, heel, ball, toe, and bend knee. Do it again. Shift your weight back slightly, so it's about 50-50, not 60-40. Open the front toe. Check that your crotch is rounded. Now move your weight first in the direction of that foot. Step out, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. We'll just keep doing that. So I'm in a bow stance. Open the front toe out to the corner. The reason why you want to shift your weight in the direction of your foot is that if you move your weight in the direction that you're going to move, there's no support there. You're going to fall over. It's really unbalanced. So when you start moving your weight, move your weight in that diagonal direction. So where toe is open, bring the foot in, step out shoulder width, and go forward. Shift your weight back slightly, open the front toe to 45 degrees, shift forward, step out, heel, ball, toe, and finish. So one of the things that we did right at the beginning, if you recall, when we doing this exercise and we started, the order in which we moved our feet is pretty much how you move your feet in ordinary life, right? We picked up the heel, picked up the ball, picked up the toe, toe, ball, heel. And so we are doing the same thing when we do this walking, this Taiji Walking. So let's do that again. So I'm going to go in a straight line, perform a bow stance, back foot to the corner, front foot to the straight, back leg straight but not locked, front leg bent, but you can see your toes. Open the front foot to the corner, crotch rounded. Shift your weight in the direction of the front foot, step out, shoulder width, far enough that you can come back. Now you've touched your heel, touch the ball of your foot, keep your legs straight. As that's done, bend your knee. Do that again. Open, toe to the corner, check crotch rounded. Weight in the direction of the front foot, step through shoulder width, heel, ball, toe, keeping the leg straight, and then bend the knee. One more time. Open, shift weight, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. So one of the things which I want to emphasize here is what's making you, sort of obvious, what's making you move? It's your legs are pushing. And so when I'm in this posture and I'm doing heel, ball, toe, what's making my foot flatten against the ground is that my weight is moving forward. I'm not just flopping my foot down. And what's making my weight go forward, it's my back leg pushing. So my back leg is pushing my foot flat, and then my back leg is bending my front leg. So let's do that together. And I want you to now think about the back leg pushing the foot flat and the leg bending. So, bow stance, back leg to corner, front leg to straight, crotch rounded, weight over the bubbling well. So shift weight back slightly, open the front toe, move forward, heel touch, shoulder width. Now push with the back leg, flatten the foot, keep pushing, bend the knee. Open the front toe, move in the direction of that foot, bring through the foot, push with the back leg, flatten the foot, and keep pushing, bend the knee. Do that, keep doing that. If you need to reset like I did, of course, do that. Open the front foot, move through, step, heel, ball, toe, bend knee, open, step through, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. So as we move, what are the requirements for moving? So there are a couple of things that I want to point out. As the first thing we've already talked about, which is the sequence. So it's, if I'm going forward, heel first, then ball, then toe. So I don't do this and then put my weight down. It's like this. The second is, and these kinds of things are both rooted in the principles of Taiji, and to some extent they're style related. In Taiji Chuan, particularly Young Family Taiji Chuan, we move smoothly and evenly. And so when we are walking like this, when we're moving like this, it's very even. One of the images that Master Youngjun uses is it's like walking on thin ice. So when you're moving, let's say you're here, you don't want to go thump, thump. You're going to break the ice. So keep everything moving very smoothly. And in fact, if you can, what you can think about is, when I'm in this posture, my hips are at a certain height. Imagine you are not allowed to go up or down from here. Your hips have to stay at the same height. So I'm going to open, move through very smoothly, and to here. Don't go up and down, because that will be putting more weight and you might go through the ice.
May I ask a question?
Of course, Rima, please.
When you talk about the weight distribution between the two legs in a bow stance, you said that if you can pick up your toe, you need to lean forward, and if you can pick up your heel, you need to lean back, if I got it straight. But I find that no matter what I can do, I can pick up both.
You can pick up the heel and the ball.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So
I must be doing something wrong.
Well, I might be explaining it wrong. So when I'm in a bow stance, so let's say we're in a bow stance. If your weight is down, if that's what I find, is I can't pick up my back foot. I can't pick up the heel of this back foot because my weight is pressing down. And in fact, I can't pick up the ball either because my leg is straight and my foot is bent. With my front foot, I'm pushing back. I've got enough weight going down that I can't pick up the heel, and I can't pick up the ball either. It may be, if here's something you might try, Rima, which is when you're picking up the heel and the ball, make sure that you're not moving anything else. Don't move your hips. Don't come up. You want to keep your hips level. If you can keep your hips level, I find I can't pick up my ball or my heel at this point. It's a little bit hard, since I can't see your feet, it's also hard for me to tell.
Is that
Okay,
can you
right,
from here?
yeah,
And I'm doing this,
okay,
doing this. Either way,
right.
wherever I put my weight, I can still.
Let me see if I can duplicate that. Right. What I find is if my hips, if both my legs are equally bent, it's much easier to do what you're doing, right? Because my both legs are equally bent, and that's why try and get your back leg straight, pushing into your front leg bent, pushing into the back leg. It looked to me as if you were more like this.
Yeah.
Both legs are bent. You want one more or less bent, one more or less straight, and then when you're in the back position, the back leg is more or less bent and the front leg is more or less straight.
Okay. Yes.
Let's talk again. Let's practice that this week, and I'll think about it, and let's talk about it again next week. Okay. So the second thing I wanted to mention with movement is how high we lift the feet. So we've said it's smooth. So here's one way that we don't want to do it, which is picking up the foot and stepping it down. So we don't want to pick up and put it down. Likewise, we don't want to drag the foot along the floor, which is, if you've got balance problems, that's really tempting. So dragging it along the floor. And so the image to try and remind yourself about that is, imagine you're wading through mud. You know, you want to lift your feet out of the mud just enough that you can get clear of the mud and then put them down. But you don't want to lift them so high, because when you put it down in the mud, then it'll splash. So again, it's a very smooth movement. Okay. So the last thing that I think we talked about, yes, I want to talk a little bit about rooting in the last few minutes that we have. Remember when I was saying we're moving forwards, I'm pushing with the back foot onto the front foot. I can push, I'll do it this way. So when I straighten my back leg, I'm pushing onto the front. But to stop myself falling over, I've got to push back with the front. So let's start in this position. So you're in a bow stance, you're 60% on the back, push forward with the back foot, and then stop yourself with the front. Now push your weight back with the front leg and stop yourself at the back. Forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. And change to the other side. Forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. And that sense of being able to stop the movement and push yourself back, we call rooting. The reason why rooting is important, and this is the reason why actually weight over the bubbling well and keeping your feet flat left, right is important, is if you want to move somebody, you have to have your feet solidly on the ground. So for example, if you ever try to push a car in the winter and you're on ice, you can't push that car. Or another one, you know, if you've got wooden floors and you're wearing socks and you're trying to push a sofa, the sofa wins because you don't have enough traction. And since we're pushing against an opponent, or we're delivering energy to an opponent, we want to make sure that we are rooted. In other words, that we can stop ourselves when we go forward and back, back and forward. So this is the last exercise that I'd like you to be aware of. We'll do it again next week. Adopt a bow stance. Let's do it one last time. Okay, you're in a bow stance. Back leg to the corner, front leg to straight. Shift your weight forward. Now using your back foot, push back. And feel the springiness as you stop yourself with the back leg. Straighten the back leg, push yourself onto the front, and then push back with the front to stop yourself. Back, forward, back, forward, back, forward. There's a very nice image that Mike Lauscher uses, which is, imagine there's a hole in the floor and you've got a big weight hanging on a chain from your waist, and you're through the floor, and there's this big weight, and you're trying to swing it backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. And in fact, it's pulling you into the ground, so you're actually settling down as well. Okay, we'll stop here. I'm sorry, I've run over by a minute. So to summarize, we started today. We started with the parallel stance and the bow stance. We will go on and talk about the empty stance next week. The one thing which I hope you'll be able to do is to just practice, maybe this evening, maybe tomorrow morning, if you don't have any chance before next week, just practice once to fix this in your mind. And I will see you next week. So we will close with the salute we practiced at the beginning. So just to remind you, before we do the salute, it's the right fist covered with the left palm, and you press forward. So let's do that together. We'll start feet together, martial salute. Thank you, everybody. See you next week.
Thanks, Pierre. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Pierre.
Thanks
Bye, everyone.
Thanks a lot.